Hey there, everybody. It's Steven from Timebite, and I got something for you before you listen to this great podcast that's about to hit you right in the face, and that is that you should go check out Anchor, man. This website helps you for free start you up with any podcast that you would like in your little head to be making. Because you can record from your phone, you can record from your computer, man. You can distribute on iTunes, on Spotify, wherever your little heart desires, because your little grubby hands deserve it anyway. You can. There's no minimal listenership to get yourself started with getting anything that you want done, and everything's just in one place, man. Just go check it out. It's Anchor. It's the Anchor app or Anchor.fm on the internet. So, hopefully you enjoy the podcast. You are now listening to Timebite, hosted by me, Stephen Clark. Hopefully you enjoy the podcast. Hey there, everybody. It's your boy Steve, once again, for episode 84 of Timebite. Is that crazy? I know, it's pretty wild and all that stuff. But, God, I'm almost up to 90 episodes. I think that's legit crazy in my eyes. I mean, I'm so glad this podcast is doing well, honestly. But today, I'm with someone who has known Mick Foley for almost 20 years, who runs shows that raise money for a very, very good cause to eliminate cancer from America and the world and just everywhere. And he wants to just, bring good in this life and just eliminate something so deadly that it's crazy. Today I'm with Joe Abel of I don't know where he's from, but
Sarasota, Florida.
Yeah, Sarasota, Florida. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
So we got to start it off, man. What got you in the wrestling business?
Back in the early 80s, I used to design jackets for the Road Warriors and the Midnight Express. I always had a love of art, and I used to draw. And I used to take wrestling magazines, and I'd draw my favorite wrestlers out of the wrestling magazine. And I'd go down to the Baltimore Civic Center when I lived in Baltimore, and I'd take my art book, and I'd have the people that drove up to go into to do the shows. I'd catch up with them and have them sign my art book. And I ended up doing jackets for the Road Warriors and the Midnight Express. I did a T-shirt for Sergeant Slaughter. And after a while, I started hanging out with them at the hotel, and I got to learn their lifestyle. And I said, I'm too small to be a wrestler, but I could be one of those pesky managers like Jimmy Hart or Jim Cornette. I'm small and I like to run my mouth, so that would be perfect for me. And I found a wrestling school. And I got trained, and the rest is history, as they say.
So you're a manager right now in the business?
I was a manager. I was a manager for about 25 years, and then I went into promoting, and that's all I do now. I promote my one show a year, and I donate all the money to the American Cancer Society.
So where did that come in? Like, when did I'm going to start doing shows to raise money for cancer societies become something in your life?
Well, I lost my mother, my father, my aunt, my uncle, and my grandmother all to cancer.
Oh,
And then about 6 years ago, my wife got breast cancer, and that's when I said enough is enough. Something has to be done. What do I know that I can do that can help raise money for the American Cancer Society? And then it hit me, I've been in wrestling for, it was 20 something years at the time. I said, I know how to run shows. I know all these wrestlers. Let me put something together. And Fighting for a Cure was born.
that's really cool, man. How you just stood up and you're just like, no, it's enough, man. We got to do something about this, you know?
And I was surprised to see how many people, wrestlers jumped on board with helping me do the show. Because without them, there wouldn't be a show. Without the volunteers, there wouldn't be a show. And now, as soon as they hear I'm planning Fighting for a Cure, I get emails and texts from wrestlers I don't even know asking me to be on the show. And, I can't thank everybody enough.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure through this project, you met so many heroes and legends in the business that it's crazy. Like, so many people you looked up to and so many new faces that you haven't looked up to but just met for the first time. It's gotta be an amazing, radical feeling, man.
Well, it reminds me, of my childhood when I was designing jackets for the Road Warriors and, the Midnight Express. I was in my teens and just meeting them for the first time. It's pretty exciting to see somebody that you watched on TV and now you're becoming friends with them.
Yeah, that is really something. I mean, like, as you know, not the Road Warriors, the Midnight Rock and Roll Express. I'm getting them all mixed up now. The Rock and Roll Express. I know that they're working in NWA right now. What is your thoughts about NWA and its hot streak that's going on right now?
I miss those days of the old NWA. I grew up watching the old NWA, Georgia Championship Wrestling, and now I don't want to say I don't pay too much attention to what's on TV. I can't tell you the last time I sat through a whole WWE Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. I'm not real happy with the product. AEW, I'm hearing about things they're doing. I'm catching it over the internet. I've yet to sit down and actually watch a full episode of AEW. I haven't watched Impact in the longest time. So I'm really not in the loop with watching anything anymore, but I do catch wind of it over the internet. And I think the Rock and Roll Express just won the NWA Tag Team titles again, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm so happy for them because both of them are great guys. A while ago when I was doing the jackets, they had approached me about doing jackets, but by the time I did the jacket, the NWA was folded. So I never got to get them their jacket. But I saw Ricky Morton WrestleMania weekend when they were in Orlando a couple years ago, and that was when they were going in the Hall of Fame, and I congratulated them about going in the Hall of Fame, and both of those guys just super nice guys, so they deserve everything they get.
Do you take like when, let's just for say somebody wants you to make a jacket for them, would you do it?
I haven't designed a jacket since the 80s, and I quit drawing, so I'd have to say absolutely no.
What's your favorite jacket that you made out of the ones that you gave out and the ones that you have still?
Well, I didn't give any out. I mean, the Road Warriors threatened to sue me if I sold any without their permission. They knew I would probably make a killing mass producing the Road Warrior jackets. I was going to, I was in negotiation with the Midnight Express to mass produce their jackets, and they disappeared. You know, the NWA went under, and they didn't go under, but they sold and turned into WCW, and you know they disappeared. And I think I would have done well selling the Midnight Express jackets, but I like them all. You know, all the jackets that I produced, and the T-shirt that I did for Sergeant Slaughter. That was the first thing I did. That came out really nice, and I got to meet Sergeant Slaughter, and it was funny. I'm sitting there talking to his business manager, and we're inside the Baltimore arena, and the garage door came open, and in came this big, long camouflage limousine, and I knew who was in it. And Sergeant Slaughter stepped out, and Rick Martel stepped out, and Sergeant Slaughter liked the T-shirt that I had, and they made me promise that I wouldn't sell any without their permission. And that was the furthest thing from my mind. You know, I was just a fan trying to show support. And they knew I was on to something. They knew I could have made a lot of money doing the jackets and the T-shirts. And I stuck to my word. I never sold any jackets and any T-shirts without their permission.
The thing that I don't understand though about the NWA is that, like you said, the NWA folded. They turned to WCW, and the WCW was bought by WWE, and the NWA is back. Like, what happened there?
I think a new company probably, you know, bought the NWA from whoever, because there's NWAs everywhere. There was an NWA chapter in Florida running a couple years ago. There's NWA chapters all around. I think what they did was just all got together and said, it's time to put NWA back on TV, and competition is always good. Without competition, things get stale. People get tired of seeing the same thing. So I think they did that. I think they brought the NWA back to go back to the roots, you know, from where they first came back in the 80s. You know, they wanted to bring people back from back in the 80s, and it still has value, you know, and that's a proven commodity. You know, it's a proven commodity. You mix some new guys in with the old guys, and I think they're going to do okay.
Yeah, I mean, like nostalgia is a big thing right now, so I'm not surprised that the NWA is doing hot. You know,
I was surprised, you know, when they let Jim Cornette go for the remark that he made. You know, I Cornette's a smart man. I think back in the 80s he could have got away with what he said, but now people are so sensitive that you have to watch what you say.
Yeah, I mean, like 2020 technically, you know, people are, you know, so can be a little sensitive to subjects, and you gotta be so careful what you say, or else, you know, things go haywire and whatever. Because, you know, everything's just all over the place now.
Yeah, I mean, people have become so sensitive that things you could got away with, you know, 30 years ago, you can't say nowadays. And I think Jim Cornette will be okay. You know, I think he has enough money where he can just sit back and relax and not have to worry about things. And to be honest with you, if I called him tomorrow or got a hold of him tomorrow and said, hey, how about coming in and doing my show? He'd do it. You know, he'd do it in a heartbeat.
Has he done it before?
No, I mean he hasn't done a Fighting for a Cure show yet, but I wouldn't mind having him on the show.
Yeah, because I'm not trying to make this a shoot, but like, do you think he would really? Do you think he would really? I mean, like, because he's a smart guy. He knows what he's talking about. But like, he can sometimes be a little.
He could be a jerk.
Yeah, sometimes
He can be a jerk. I see some of his Twitter posts and what have you, and I've known Jim for as long as I've known Mick Foley. Okay, and he's always treated me with respect, and I got to work against him, and I got hit with the tennis racket, and he's always been cool to me, and part of me thinks that he does things and says things for shock value. I don't know if he really believes what he's saying, but I think he says it just for shock value.
You mean to rile up the fans?
Exactly. He has his own reasons for doing it, and as long as he doesn't target me with any of his garbage, then I still have nothing but respect for the guy. I have nothing but love and respect for the guy.
So let's talk about your after the jackets thing, and you get done doing the jackets and all that, and you're like a full blown manager at this point.
Okay.
What promotion do you start in, and how long were you doing that for, and where do you started with it?
I started off in Baltimore, Maryland. The first promotion I was with was an indie federation called the Mid-Eastern Wrestling Federation. And I was there off and on for probably about 8 years. I went to Maryland Championship Wrestling for a short period of time when they first started up. And then I bounced back to the Mid-Eastern Wrestling Federation. And I traveled to Philadelphia and West Virginia. So I was up and down the East Coast, Georgia. And then I moved to Florida in 1998. And I started working the Florida territories and stayed in Georgia for a little bit, working there and just doing different gimmicks. I was known as Joe Cool. I did an albino gimmick. I was a lawyer named John Q. So I've had a bunch of different gimmicks. I was a stripper named Gigolo Joe Cool.
Oh God.
That's another story. I'd run in the middle of a match and take my rip away pants and rip them off and start dancing in the middle of a match. And the two wrestlers would back up like, what the heck is this guy doing? But the fans loved it. That's
the point. I mean, like, that's the point. You do whatever you need to do to give yourself heat or I forget the other word right now. Heat, and I forgot, or the word to not get heat. I forget the word right now. But
you're trying just to get yourself over. Any reaction out of the crowd, is good. And you can't see me right now. You've seen pictures of me. I don't have a muscle in my body. I can't dance. So ripping away the pants and start dancing when the party boy music comes on, the crowd just loved it. The crowd ate it up. It was funny.
Yeah.
And, that's what I'm all about. I'm all about entertaining the fans and having fun doing it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're in the match or you're just a guy running into the match to entertain the fans. If you're entertaining the fans in general, you are doing your freaking job.
Exactly. That's what it is. It's that's why it went from sports now it's sports entertainment. They have to throw that entertainment in there because that's what it is, and all the wrestlers doing their thing are out there to entertain you. So there you go.
So like how have you ever came close to working for like WCW, ECW, WWF? Like, did you ever come close to working for them?
I'd be lying if I didn't say I had chances. As a manager, it's a lot harder to make it to WWE or WCW or ECW because male managers are pretty much a thing of the past. You have Paul Heyman now. That's about it. You don't have back in the old days. You had Freddie Blassie, you had Jimmy Hart, you had Captain Lou Albano, you had Bobby Heenan, you had Jim Cornette, you had Jimmy Hart. You had their managers were a dime a dozen back in those days. And once they stopped using the male managers, I knew my chances were slim to none. But I came along at the right time where I had guys, two of my trainers were Axel Rotten and Gilbert, Dwayne Gill. Mm-hmm. And Axel was going up to ECW and Dwayne was going to WWF, WWE. So through those connections, I had my chance and I never went for it. I designed a jacket for Paul Heyman when he first got into the business. He heard about me doing jackets for the Midnight Express, and he got my phone number and he called me up and he said, "Hi, my name's Paul Heyman. I'm a photographer for a wrestling magazine. I'm getting ready to get into the wrestling business as a manager. Can you do a jacket for me?" Sure. So I've known Paul Heyman for, 20 something years now. And I actually got to work against him. But to make a long story short, he was running ECW and we had half of ECW's locker room coming down to Baltimore to do shows with us. And I was pretty friendly with Paul, but I never bugged him about going to ECW. I didn't think ECW was a right fit for me. I saw what they were doing and they were violent and I didn't want to get killed. I like my life and I just didn't think I would be a good fit for ECW. And the same with, like I said, when Jim Cornette came to work for us in Baltimore, he was running Ohio Valley. And I just got done working against Jim Cornette. And I asked him about coming to Ohio Valley to work. And he said I could, and I never went. At the time, I was married to my second wife, and my son was probably 2.5, 3 years old. And I didn't want to leave my wife and son. So I just didn't go to OVW. And those were the years where Randy Orton came out of OVW, Batista came out of OVW. I think Eminem might have been there at the time. But, I was there with that whole group. I would have been there with that whole group had I gone. So it's funny how life, throws these little curveballs at you. And looking back, I wish I had gone to either ECW or OVW, but you can't change what happened in the past. You can only go, move forward. Mm-hmm. So, I have a lot of regrets, but it all worked out for the best.
So, so besides your thoughts and everything you just said about you having the chance going there. What was your favorite promotion out of those three promotions? Which one was the one you liked watching the most?
Watching the most? What, WCW or WWF or ECW?
Yeah, ECW, WCW, WWF. Which one do you liked watching the most?
Back in the day, though, they were all. I liked them all back in the day. Um, I can't. I'd have to pick. My favorite time would be the Attitude Era in the WWE. When you had Austin, The Rock, The Undertaker was still doing the old Undertaker gimmick. Um, Back in those days, I really liked watching the WWE. WCW, I watched it, but I didn't think it was as entertaining. And ECW was just anybody that has a wrestling ring, all of a sudden he thinks, "Oh, I'm a wrestler." It doesn't happen that way. Go to a school, get trained by a reputable school, a teacher. You have a lot of backyard guys, and they think just because they can do the moves, they're pro wrestlers. And like I said, go through the proper procedures. Go through a nice reputable school with a teacher.
At all, and you're getting into the business, don't even try, man. Just find something else,
See, it's a lot easier nowadays to get into the business because people they just want to run shows. They don't want to put on good shows. They just want to run shows, and it's horrible because some of the people that are in the ring now have no business being in the ring.
Because is this a shoot to the modern talent saying they don't know how to wrestle?
Yeah. I'm not shy when it comes to saying that either. Like I said, everybody that has a ring all want to put on a show, but you don't know anything about the business. Then just that.
So like, wait.
Let's put it this way. When I was breaking into the business, okay, they wouldn't let just anybody in the business. They tested you. And what I mean by that is they'd bring you into the ring and they would legit beat your ass, okay, and make you bleed and make you black and blue to see if you were tough enough and if you wanted it bad enough to come back. Okay, nowadays you can't do that. Because people are too quick to say, "Oh, he beat me up in the wrestling ring. I'm going to sue." And it's horrible. It's horrible because it's not tiddlywinks. It's not ballet. It's pro wrestling. It's a physical sport. You got to learn to protect the business. Nowadays, people don't protect the business. You'll see two guys that are wrestling in a match before the show talking to each other in front of the crowd. Okay? That's not protecting the business. That's exposing the business. You're not leaving it to people's imagination. If they see you talking to the guy that you're wrestling, how are they supposed to believe that you're going out there killing each other because you hate each other? They don't. They see you talking to each other. They see you patting each other on the back. You're all friendly. No, that's exposing the business.
Yeah, I mean, like it's not like how it used to be where there was a heel locker room and a face locker room, and if you were caught in the face, and if you were a heel caught talking to the faces, you would be instantly fired and all that. I mean, it's not like the '80s and the '70s anymore, man.
Right, and that's what is hurting the business a lot. That between that. And like I said, there's too many indies federations running that have no business at all running.
I understand that things have to change because like things change, over the years, over the decades. I mean, but like, I don't know what. Honestly, I don't know what happened there between like the '70s and the '80s and like the early '90s, where when the heel and the face locker room and all that backstage stuff about like keeping it that secret ended, but like, I mean, let's think of it this way. I feel like heels and faces being separated like that can still be a thing if Twitter and Facebook were not around, or if they were around but they didn't have like, and everyone didn't have like a Twitter and all that stuff. I feel like that would save the kayfabe. Like,
see, you hit the nail on the head. You answered your own question. Once the internet came to be, the business was exposed. People knew dirt sheets were out, and people had insiders. And when they started posting everything on the internet. Now you can get spoilers and spoiler alerts, and you can find out backstage happenings and what's going to happen ahead of time, and that killed everything. But as far as kayfabe goes, it doesn't have to be two separate locker rooms, okay? It can be one locker room, but keep it behind closed doors. If you take it backstage where none of the fans can see, you're fine talking to the guy you're working against. Don't do it out in front of the crowd. And I see too many people going over their match ahead of time in the ring when the doors are open and you have the fans coming in. That's just idiotic. It drives me absolutely crazy. And I think that's why Jim Cornette says a lot of what he says, because he sees how crappy it is now.
So you think that so you're saying that it's all right to break kayfabe if they're in the private of the locker room, but if they're outside the locker room, kayfabe should be turned on?
Absolutely. Anytime you're seen by the crowd and you're talking to who you're working against, or if you're a heel talking to a babyface, or you're a babyface talking to a heel, how are you supposed to go in the ring after the fans see you talking to the guy, giving each other high fives, smiling, laughing, carrying on, and have them believe that you hate each other? It's like Sergeant Slaughter and the Iron Sheik, or the Iron Sheik and Hacksaw Jim Duggan getting caught riding in the same car. How are you supposed to believe that they hate each other that much when they're seen riding together? And that's what hurt kayfabe a little bit too when that happened. The whole Jim Duggan getting caught with the Iron Sheik smoking weed in the car together when they were supposed to be feuding.
Well, here's the thing: if Hacksaw Jim Duggan was in the same car with Slaughter and Sheik at the time, Duggan would be dead, because, as you know, back then Slaughter had so much heat teaming up with Colonel Mustafa and the Iron Sheik that Sergeant Slaughter was getting death threats, almost probably killed himself by the fans and people around him and everywhere that he went, because he got that much heat.
Oh yeah, he said he had to wear a bulletproof vest under his outfit because he was afraid he was going to get shot. But no, the Hacksaw Jim Duggan Iron Sheik thing happened. They were caught smoking weed going down the road together, and they were supposed to be feuding. Explain that one to the fans. You can't. You just sweep it under the rug and act like it didn't happen. But keep it behind closed doors. If you're talking behind closed doors and none of the fans can see you, then there's nothing. You don't have to worry about breaking kayfabe, because the fans can't see back and back.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
if you have it out in front where the fans can see, you're just killing the business. That's all you're doing.
so so do you think wrestling can be saved in 2020?
Yeah, I think I don't know what it would take. I'm not. I think I think AEW, from what I can see, I think they have a lot of work to do. I thought they were going to do okay at first, but I think they need a lot of work. And WWE, I don't know what's going to happen there. Um, NXT might be their future right there. You might see Raw go off the air. You might see the end of SmackDown, but I think NXT would take over. I could see something like that happening.
There's no.
Because they're already building up NXT, so much. What was that pay-per-view that they just had where they had NXT versus Raw and SmackDown guys? It's Survivor Series, wasn't it?
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. There is no way. I don't like swearing, but there's no way in hell that Raw and SmackDown would ever go off the air, because Raw is Raw is their profiting program. That's been on since I was born. Like literally the year I was born, that show came out, and that show has been running ever since. And that show's been you've seen the numbers. That show has numbers. They're always topping the TV market every single Monday night. SmackDown is gaining that same steam as Raw is getting now because they're on a higher network. NXT is just popular because all the indie fans have all their indie boys in that brand right now, and the network, having everything that you can ever imagine is doing well. I mean, it's just
numbers. I keep hearing about numbers, but I don't think they're drawing that. The ratings aren't doing that well, I don't think.
You don't think? Not even when your friend. Your friend Foley came on the television with the 24/7 title. I mean that was one of the many things that gave him ratings.
That was, how many months ago was that? 5, 6, July, August, September, October, November. 5 months ago. Okay, now recently, you're seeing the same 4 or 5 guys every single Monday, and what's going to happen? The fans are going to get tired of seeing the same 4 or 5 guys every Monday, and it gets stale. You got to keep reinventing it and bringing new guys in. And from what I'm seeing, and reading, it's just not happening.
Has Foley ever invited you to come on to Has Foley ever invited you to come on to Raw with him for a segment or whatever, to work you into a segment?
Nah, that wouldn't be his call. That would be Vince's call, and I don't see why they would need me to do anything, to be honest with you. I mean, if I was invited, I would go, but I don't know of any reason they'd actually need me on Raw or anything.
Well, because no, I say that is because remember when a few years ago they had Tommy Dreamer come back and he was wearing all of his House of Hardcore stuff and WWE said nothing about it. He just kept wearing it. I feel like that they would have you on there if Vince has the freaking not freaking but
the grapefruits. If he has the grapefruits.
Yeah, to bring you on to advertise your shows. I feel
here's the whole thing. Here's the whole thing. They won't do that, and I'll tell you why. Because they do their thing with Susan G. Conan, yeah. And they won't mix with another. They won't mix with an indie federation trying to do something good. I'll tell you a funny story, and then I got to get rolling in a few minutes. Um, I used to run here in Venice, Florida. Okay, that's where the first four Fighting for a Cure shows were. A place called the Venice Community Center.
Mm-hmm.
While I was running there, Vince McMahon decided, oh, that's a nice building. I'm going to run NXT there as well. Okay, so you had two wrestling federations running out of the same building, and they would always book their show either the week before mine or the night before mine. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Which do you think the fans are going to go to? A WWE show or a indie show?
Now, before
They're going to go to the one more popular. They're going to go to NXT.
yeah,
And that would kill attendance at Fighting for a Cure. I had Road Warrior Animal on Fighting for a Cure 3. And he told me that with Vince running there the night before, that's what hurt my attendance. And you can't compete with that. So I ended up moving, Fighting for a Cure. I wrote to the WWE and I explained the situation. I said, I'm just trying to do something nice for the American Cancer Society, and they didn't even respond to me. They don't care about indies. They don't care about anything like that. But and they don't want to team up with any indies or anything to do anything. So it is what it is, and
real quick question. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, you're okay. Go ahead.
But like you were running your shows off Full Sail before NXT started running their shows in Full Sail?
No, not Full Sail. Venice Community Center.
Venice Community Center. Oh,
Venice Community Center.
Was that's it. Oh, NXT was like running some shows out there for like a week or something while you were running your shows there at the same time.
Right. I'd run my show at Venice Community Center, and then NXT would book their show at the Venice Community Center. So I'd have to compete with NXT in that building. And it's horrible. Now I don't have to worry about that. I got a building where I'm the only wrestling federation running out of that building, and he will not book another wrestling group there while I'm running there.
And I'm guessing Foley comes down every time to help you out because you guys get along and he supports your cause and he,
Well, I don't want to have him every year. I just had him in July. I don't want to have him again this year because the same people that saw him last year probably won't pay for a meet and greet because they already met him last year. So I'm looking at a couple other people for special guests this year, and I'm negotiating with them to try to get them to come in. And I'll leave you guessing with who it is, but they're going into the Hall of Fame, the WWE Hall of Fame this year.
Harlem Heat.
How's that for a cliffhanger?
Is it the NWO?
Maybe. Not the whole NWO. Just two guys.
Can I say it?
Go ahead.
Scott Hall and Kevin Nash.
Bingo.
Oh man.
I'm negotiating with them, bringing them in for this year's Fighting for a Cure show, which is Sunday, July 26th, right here in Sarasota at a place called Joyland.
That's awesome, man. That is rad. I mean, Hall of Famers, man. You're putting on your show. That is so cool.
I appreciate that. I've had Killer B, Brian Blair there. I've had Tugboat there. I've had Road Warrior Animal there. I had Mick Foley there. I had somebody who just passed away today who I'm very sad about. The Rock's dad, Rocky Johnson, who passed away, God rest his soul. He was there last year with Mick Foley, and I dubbed them the Rock and Sock 2.0. And man, he was just such a great guy. Rocky Johnson was an amazing man.
I know that you said you have to get going a little bit.
Yeah.
But I want to put out there real quick. Two things I want to put out there real quickly. If you ever come to the Chicago area and run one of these shows out of Chicago, because I don't know if I'll ever make it down to wherever you do your shows on a regular basis. I don't know when that's ever going to happen, because I don't think I'm ever going to get that kind of money to go down there anytime soon. But if you come out to Chicago and run your shows or whatever, I am 100% down. I will do a meet and greet. I will do whatever you want me to do at the show. If it's for a great cause, I got it.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. You know, I wish you were here, man, because I would let you do a live podcast from the show. You know, I have 2 live podcasts that usually, come to the show every year, and I have different wrestlers come on their podcast. And I'll tell you what, my way of showing appreciation to you, having me on your show, and you plugging my show, I'll see what I can do with hooking you up with some other wrestlers for you to interview. How's that sound?
That'd be fantastic.
I don't know if it'd be Mick Foley, but I'll see what I can do.
That would be amazing, man. If for somehow, some way can get Foley to get on the podcast and get some other guys that are really cool in the business on, I would love that, man. Thanks a lot.
Hey, anytime I can help you out, you just let me know, because you've been more than gracious. You're a great host, great interviewer. Anytime I can help you out.
Hey, thanks, man. So on that note, let people know where they can find you, and I'll let you know where you can find me.
You can go on Facebook and search Fighting for a Cure, and our Facebook page will show up. And I'm also on Twitter. I think it's Fighting for a Cure on Twitter. Or my email is always fightingforacure@gmail.com.
You can find. I want to thank everyone for listening to episode 84 of Cyber Timebite. By the way, you can find me at Cyber Timebite on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter at NostalgiaVamp, and buy my merchandise at Redbubble.com under Crash Steven Gear, where everyone knows that even all of you know that the Spork is the most powerful of them all. Pick up my Spork shirt. Pick up my Great Minds Think Alone, and When You Walk Alone, you have the Strongest Direction shirt. Those shirts are amazing. Those are my favorite ones I have made so far. Pick them up. Just do the thing, man. Listen to the podcast, buy the merch, have a good time. And for me and for Joe over here, I want to thank all of you for checking out the podcast, and I hope all of you have a great day. Have a good one.
Thank you.